Hey guys, this is Steve the Bass Guy. I'm checking in with you with Bass Musician Magazine. Today I am going to be interviewing Scott Devine. Scott was with us about 5 years ago, and we're checking back in the midst of all this COVID stuff going on and seeing what's happening in the world of education. As you know, Scott has one of the best platforms out there for education right now if you're doing the online thing. Unbelievable. So many ways to learn and really inspire your bass playing. So if you have a chance, check out this interview. It's worth the. All right, guys. So today I have a conversation with a great guy, Scott Devine from Scott's Bass Lessons and his academy. And today on Bass Musician Magazine, we get the opportunity to interview you and kind of find out what you've been doing with everything that's going on in the world and seeing how that's changed.
Well, this year it's I think with the situation, obviously, COVID this year, 2021, and this year is actually other than COVID being a great year for us, it turns out that people when they're when they're trapped indoors, they really want to learn bass. So so we've had just a really fantastic year. We've been working with some great artists in terms of what we're doing internally as a team. We've been growing the team as well. We're up to 30 full-time members now on
Wow.
the team. Yeah, I know, it's
Yeah.
bonkers, isn't it?
Yeah, I
Um,
saw you were hiring a while back too. I got the
we have
email.
hired we've hired somebody every single week now for the last 4 weeks.
That's awesome.
So it's okay. I can still
That's
remember
awesome.
everybody's name. It's
That's
I'm dreading the day that I'm like, oh no, what are these guys called? But yeah, so the team's growing really well. We're working with some great artists, and we've just hit 25,000 enrolled students as
that's
well,
that's awesome.
which is yeah. So
Can,
we're super stoked about it.
can I admit something to you, Scott?
Yeah.
I'm one of your members.
Hey.
I'm not going to lie to you, man. I have a degree in jazz bass. I went to school and studied music. But you know what? It was COVID, and I was like, I got your email. And it was like, and I was like, you know what? I was like, there's always room to grow.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? You offered that. It was like a week free trial. And I was like, you introduced me to Danny Moe.
Oh yeah,
That
Danny's
dude
great.
is a monster, man. I love that dude. I tune in for him because jazz, growing up listening to jazz, and I read your story about, learning, walking in and saying standards, what's a standard,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
Oh yeah,
but
yeah.
there's also, if you're somebody who only studied standards, when you go and try to learn something else, like if that's like your focal point, when it
Yeah.
comes time to go to R&B or you're going to something else or rock and you're like, well, I'm kind of, you're thinking, okay, well, walk. It's like, no, there's other approaches. And
Yeah.
Danny Moe was definitely, that dude is Danny Moe Morris, right?
Yeah, Danny Momori, he's fantastic, man. He
Yeah,
also teaches at Berkeley.
I
He's
know.
on he's on this teaching staff at Berkeley, and he's just like he's really great in that like R&B, that soul, that vibe. It's the P bass, it's the
Oh, yeah.
flat wounds,
Yeah.
and he's really got a lot of that language and vocabulary down.
I think
But
it's my
it's also
spirit
just
animal.
he's just got a great vibe as well. He's just like got a great vibe as a teacher and a human being.
Absolutely. I love his sessions, man. I try to tune into those because I get he does those lessons every like you send out those master classes,
Yeah,
and
he does the yeah, yeah.
I tune into those. Those are great, man. But I will say I came, through like your emailing. It was awesome, and that definitely enticed me. And even somebody who is schooled, there was opportunity, man. I love what you're doing, and I
Oh, cheers, man.
love.
Well, I use it as well. Like honestly, like I learned from these guys. Just last week, we've got a guy called Rich Brown who teaches on the platform. He's just so frightening in terms of like soloist, like soloing, improvising. He's just
Mhm.
one of my favorite players. And over the last few weeks, I've just been checking out his courses, practicing the stuff. So it's really fantastic that as a team we get to build a really fantastic resource and school, online school for bass players. But on the flip side, it's great because we get to actually use the platform ourselves.
That's
Side
awesome.
note that like 95% of the staff are all bass players as well.
That's incredible. Well, I love the fact that you have the hang too. I used to teach at a place called Bass Specialties in
Yeah.
Philly, and Anthony Wellington used to teach there.
Oh,
Uh,
wicked.
John Patucci would come in there. We had a lot of players who come in and was a hang. So you would teach
Yeah.
and you would hang and you learn from these guys. And I think
Yeah.
that, in the digital age where the stores are disappearing, you brought that back. I love that.
Yeah, like I think that it's it's always changing, right? And I think that it's definitely shifting online, and I think that our challenge is how to lean in to build community online. I think that that's a really exciting problem to try and tackle and solve and I'm sure that like live elements are a part of that. I think that the live thing isn't going away, but I think that the live thing is shifting online and with what we do, because obviously we've got the course library, but we've also every Monday we do live sessions with different tutors around the world, and they stream out through the platform. And then I do the base hang thing where I'm doing sort of like a monthly Q&A. It's just finding different ways of connecting communities online. I think that it's interesting looking back at remember Talkbase,
Oh
like
yeah.
obviously that, yeah, huge forum, right? Well, I can remember when that was the only online place really for bass players to connect, and I was
Yeah.
just having a conversation with, do you know Corey from No Trouble?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know Corey.
So I was talking to him just like literally like 20 minutes ago or something, and and isn't the internet amazing? Like he's like in Virginia somewhere,
It
so I'm
is,
like,
yeah.
yeah, I'm just talking to him, and we were discussing like I suppose the how the online environment's changing and how there's so many more channels now where bass players can connect. There's obviously Facebook now. There's Facebook groups. There's Instagram. I know that you're an Instagram user as well.
Yep.
So there's all of these different channels that are, I suppose, sort of like satisfying these niche audiences' needs, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. Like really excited.
That's awesome. I have a group of bass players I'm friends with. Most people do in their areas, and
Yeah.
most of us teach. We're all private teachers. We all instruct, and we talk about your lessons a lot. And a lot of us use it just to kind of develop ideas, and sometimes just to guide for guidance for students. And we were saying the other day, we're like, we would love to see if you would have an academy, like maybe a niche in there for teachers, like a
Yeah.
platform for teachers to implement with their students as well. So not only is it just for the student, but for the educator to use your platform in the same way that Mel Bay created books that we would teach with.
Exactly that. So that's something that we've been talking about a lot, and I'll be totally transparent. We know it's something that we need to tackle. We're not exactly sure which direction to take around that yet, but it's exactly that. You want bass tutors to feel like they've got really fantastic materials
Mhm.
to use with their students, so they can guide them through like a really fantastic curriculum, right? So
Absolutely.
it's exactly that. But our challenge is how do we put those materials online, and then how do we make it really simple for the tutor to use? So materials online, so maybe the tutor can log in, maybe they can track, the student can make notes,
Yeah.
the tutor can make notes within the app, that side of things. And then also getting, and this will be an easier thing to do, get deals together so tutors can introduce their students to SBL, but they can get them special student rates and all of that kind of stuff as well. Like there's a bunch of stuff we want to do around that, and it's definitely 2021 is going to be a year of solving, solving puzzles, as it was this year, as it seems to be every year, just trying to sort of like, figure out the problem and then trying to figure out how to solve it.
Absolutely. Well, you're in a lot of uncharted territory. I mean, nobody has really done a platform to this
Yeah.
degree before. So you're kind of you're blazing the trail. So
Yeah, it's hard for me as well because honestly, I'm a real modeler. I really believe in modeling and trying not to reinvent the wheel. That's because I think that, well, if you're going to reinvent the wheel, you're going to spend a bunch of time doing it. And I'm all about speed and being able to execute on whatever we're trying to do as fast as possible. So for us, I really wish there was somebody that was out there that had created an online digital platform that we could just model out, and it could be in a different niche or whatever it is, and then we could just apply their learnings to our business. But right now there's not, like, there's some great online learning platforms, but in terms of learning an instrument and the specific needs of a student, they're actually really different. So there's stuff like, I'm looking at my other screen, there's like Skillshare, lynda.com, Pluralsight, Treehouse, Code Academy. These are all
Yep.
online learning platforms that I just keep an eye on frankly weekly basis, just to see what they're applying and how they're interacting with their students and their courses and all of that good stuff. And it's great, but there's only certain things that apply to learning music, and there's a bunch of stuff that doesn't.
Correct.
So that's where, like Players Path is something that we've introduced into the platform over the last 12 months, which is for anybody listening or reading. I'm not exactly sure how this is going to be
We're gonna do it as a
distributed.
video.
Oh, wicked. Okay, so if it's a video, yeah.
Yeah, the player's path is
Um,
great.
yeah, so Players Path, that was really kind of a ground up thing where we couldn't see anybody doing it in any other like learning platform environment. So we were like, how can we do this for bass players? And we actually took an idea that was developed a couple of hundred years ago in Europe, like the music grading system, which is used in the UK and Europe
Mhm.
right now through schools, and just thought, okay, let's get that and bring that into the platform, but let's build it out using technology and videos instead of books and real people.
Yeah,
So, and again, I'm kind of still modeling. Can you
yeah,
see where I'm going? Like, I'm just looking for these ideas to bring in because of it just helps us with the speed of implementation.
absolutely. It's you're kind of the Steve Jobs of the bass world here.
Yeah, just not as brilliant. Just not as brilliant.
But it's great. I love what you're doing. I think that it's got a lot of you're touching a lot of lives, and you're really helping a lot of people. Now, there's always been that question about the feedback in the moment, though. We're again as a bass teacher, there's something to be said about that visual aspect of sitting with the student, and you have the student that has their thumb the wrong way or has their hand the wrong way,
Yeah,
and you can give
yeah,
them that feedback in the moment. So that's why, like, even with the element of the live tutor being able to access and give that information or disseminate that information to
yeah.
the student is useful as well. So you really
It
have.
is, yeah. It is, and I think that like we do something called the student focus, where people can send us videos of them playing, and then I'll send them a personal video back, showing them stuff like that. That's fine, but it's not going to work at scale. So that's I'm trying to figure that out right now. I'm thinking
Yes.
when we're at 25,000 students now, we're going to try and get to 50,000 students by the end of 2021. Um, like when we get to that many students, how are we going to do the video feedback? How's that going to work? And is there a better way around it? I'm always trying to figure out if there's a more efficient way of doing it and a better way for the students so they can get more like instant feedback. Like
Yeah.
how do we create an ecosystem where if they submit something, one day they have a clear bit of feedback the day after,
That's
and
great.
try and reduce that time down. Yeah,
Yeah, that's really great because in that moment, feedback is really important. They have to be.
super important. Yeah,
Yeah, because those kind of goals where they're achievable goals, small achievable goals, helps you for long-term goals. And
yeah, yeah,
that's why I love
absolutely.
your player's path is that you kind of implemented that in the player's path. Because I looked at that, I did your number 9, so I went through that and I was like, oh, this is great because you had all those fusion parts, and it was really
Yeah,
great because you can adjust the tempo of the piece. I love how you broke it down. You're playing it, then you also had the lead sheet, which was awesome. It really is it's well thought out. I think you did a really awesome job with organizing the materials because that's
oh,
one of the
cheers, man.
hardest things is getting the materials together.
Oh, dude. Oh, the amount of work that went into that was just like mind-boggling. It was just disgusting. It was like it's 56. I think there's something like 65 pieces within that platform now. And obviously each of them have got a 30-minute tutorial that goes with it, and they've got performances of it, and then obviously they're all completely custom. We had to employ a guy pretty much full time to write 60 odd pieces. It was
Yeah,
just bonkers. It was and he's a multi instrumentalist, but he was also getting people in to do different parts, and there was like rappers on there, and it was yeah, it was a good day when we signed that off and said, okay, we've pretty much done that part of the platform now. That's
it's
great. But to be honest with you, we're doing something next year. We're building out. It's a bunch of playing. I can't remember the terminology we're using. Basically, learning tracks. So we're creating these learning tracks from the ground up as
Nice,
well that will go inside the platform. So it'll be genre-based learning tracks. So blues, jazz, walking bass,
nice,
technique-based
nice.
stuff as well. And each learning track will have around 10 courses in there, and each course will have around 8 to 10 lessons. So that's like 2,000 to 3,000 lessons.
That's great. That's excellent.
So
Love
it's
that.
yeah, it's going to be interesting trying to figure that out.
Keeping people inspired is a hard thing to do, and that's where people tend to fall off, especially in times like this with the COVID situation. It's
Yeah.
easy because people aren't playing, but people are kind of like coming back to music. Like even the people that are out playing. Like I was talking. Do you know Gary Foote at all? Bass
I don't
player.
know. I don't
Gary
know.
Foote played with Blood, Sweat, and Tears.
Oh, got
Um,
it. Yeah.
I was talking to him yesterday, and he's like, yeah, I'm diving back into my books. He's like, I'm working on stuff again. It's like this was a guy that's on tour constantly, you
Yeah.
know, and he's back working again. I mean, everybody has kind of recentered, or at least we're
Yeah.
trying to recenter.
It'll be interesting to see what happens over 2021. Like I think that ultimately I think that we'll get back to some kind of, normal. I don't want to say new normal. I think that, the gigs will all, I think most of the stuff will come back. My, yeah, fingers crossed. Yeah. My guess is it's going to take a while. Like, I
Yeah,
think that 2021 is definitely going to be slow because people, like some people are booking gigs out in like October. So my dog's coming in. I'll see you later. um, yeah, so like tours are getting booked to the later end of 2021. It basically just means
yep.
it's going to be a slow burn. I think a
It,
slow burn back into 2021, and I think also a great time for instrumentalists to start teaching online as well. Like
yeah,
what? It's just the best, and there was a lot of innovation as well. Right when it hit, when COVID hit, and everybody's gigs disappeared. There was just this amazing sort of like eight to 12 weeks of just people just started doing so much stuff online, and there was live streams going on, and there was like these group hangs happening,
oh
and
yeah,
it was amazing. So I think that in times like this, I think that it speeds up innovation in different ways. So yeah, I think it's tough, obviously, for the arts in general, but I think that there'll be a lot of innovation that comes out of it for sure.
well, we hope that there's still clubs available when that does come back. I know they are
Yeah,
really hurting. So hopefully there's venues and places are able to support live music.
exactly. Yeah.
Because we've seen even like I know like earlier in the year was it Schofield and Medeski? It was Medeski, Martin, and Schofield and that other bass player, not Wood, but
Oh, the other one. Oh, yeah, because Wood left, didn't he?
yeah, he's
He's
got
in
the
a
Wood
trio with his
brothers.
brother. Yeah,
But
yeah,
they did
yeah,
that other live performance from their place up, I think Applehead Studios up in New York, and that
yeah.
was like one of the best I've seen for like live stream videos, and they did a really nice job with that, and that I think kind of propelled it. It was really hot back in spring and summer. Now we're kind of seeing those videos kind of fall off.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And it's hard. It's just, it is hard for musicians to because I think that there's with musicians we're kind of sort of like we're arty, right? We're sometimes hard to pin down. We're maybe not. We're maybe a little disorganized. That whole thing. Like, and I know that's true because I still work with a lot of musicians, right? And I book them to work with Scott's bass lessons, and we're all kind of. I know there's outliers out there that are just like super on it, but I think that when you're doing live streams like that and all of this innovation, it does actually take organization as well. There's a whole
Absolutely,
kind of sort of like operational aspect to it, and I think that that's what grinds on some musicians sometimes is they want to do the thing, but there's like all of this messy operations bit that they have to get through to actually be able to execute what they want to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Technology gets in the way for a lot of folks too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
It's not an easy thing to do a live broadcast like that and get that onto the air is very onto the webs. It's very very difficult.
It's tough, isn't it? Especially if you want to keep the production quality.
Yeah.
That like, having the right production quality, and they nailed it. Like they
Mhm.
nailed the production quality
Oh
on that.
yeah, yeah. That was
Where was that
incredible.
filmed?
I think it was Applehead Studios. I could be wrong, but that's up in Woodstock. That's kind of
Got it.
like the home base for like I know Harvey Citron lives up there. Mike Tobias lives there. But that studio is kind of like the epicenter for that area.
Right, God, I'll have to check it out online. Yeah, it looks beautiful. Lots
Woodstock,
of
yeah.
wood. Lots of wood. I've got sort of like I love. Have you heard of Bunker Studios?
I have, yes.
It's like John Davis's place over in it's in Brooklyn. That's
Yep, yep,
another really woody studio. I just love like
yeah.
studios when they're like they've got the lovely wood paneling and stuff. It looks great.
We used to have Angel Mountain here, which was like this incredible studio that I think the guys from 38 Special used to own. I know,
Oh, really?
yeah, I don't know if you familiar with Steve Kimmock at all? Well, you know Bobby,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
guy. So
yeah, yeah.
Steve Kimmock lives right in my neighborhood.
Oh, wow, God.
And
Amazing.
his son was actually a groomsman in my wedding. His son's a drummer for plays with Mike from Fish.
Got
Um,
it. Yeah, yeah.
but they did a bunch of recordings there, and the studio had like cathedral ceilings. It was like made for like an orchestra, but it was just like they had the
Wow.
mixing board from Asia there. So they had the Steely Dan
Really?
mixing board. Yeah, it was just this unbelievable studio out in the middle of nowhere. You're like, it's just amazing, and it's all wood, and the you know the Times just kind of cut it, and they just couldn't make the money, and they ended up shutting it down, chopping it into pieces, basically. And last
Oh
I saw,
no.
the
Like,
console
yeah.
was out for sale.
I've got to say, like, one of my kind of like bucket list things is to own a great studio somewhere in the States to run our operations out of. Not for me to be there physically, but just, so we can just set up a really fantastic studio and fly people in
Oh,
and do the whole thing. Because at the minute, we're still doing it. We're still doing it. Well, we are remote. We're a remote team, but we're also just flying into locations. So, for
mm,
instance, like a couple of weeks ago, we had John Patitucci down, and we were with him for 2 days in Bunker in Brooklyn.
nice.
And then at the weekend, just the weekend just gone, we were over in East West in LA, and we had Bobby Lewis was in. Who else was in? Daryl Jones was in, and then Stu Ham came in as well and did some stuff. So, but it'd
Nice.
be great if we just had sort of like a really, really sexy studio. Just need to
Absolutely.
tick it off the list.
Yeah, absolutely. Where do you? I thought at one point you were at Peter Gabriel's studio, right?
Yeah, yeah, we did something in Peter Gabriel's studio. That was really, it's called Real World Studios. Check them out on Instagram. They do some, it's just a phenomenal looking place. Like it
Uh,
looks rackers. Looks
that's
like something out of a, it's like sci-fi movie or something like
Oh yeah.
that.
Well, he's my bucket list guy. That if you could play with one person that you could just pick artist wise, that Peter Gabriel's my
Yeah.
bucket list guy. you know.
Yeah, like it's for me. I've got kind of an idea parked in the back of my mind that I might kind of like unleash over the next few years, and it'd be great to get Peter Gabriel involved in some way, kind of like some kind of I don't know what I'm not sure, but it's I'd love to do something with him for sure. I'm
That'd be
aiming
awesome.
high. I'm
That'd
aiming
be
high.
incredible. That'd be
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah, it'd be nuts.
So I know, Scott, we're running short on time, but I wanted to touch base on one more thing because I know when the last interview you did with us, which was 5 years ago,
Yeah.
we left off, and I actually have the end of the article here where it says, you know, there's a few things that you've been working on. One was a trio and a quartet. These are being pushed back a bit for now to see where the academy was going to go because you were still working on that. I also think it's important for me personally, so that I'm working with the trio and a quartet, that the material is more groove based. So that was kind of the last statement of the article.
Oh
Yeah.
my word! I'm
so
so embarrassed. I've done nothing.
I'm, so have you set up the quartet or the trio? Have you been working with them?
I've done some playing with a bunch of guys, but I've not set up a trio or quartet. I should. Oh, you know what? Aaron on our team actually, who's he's the strategy guy. He was grilling me about it last week. He was like, "Dude, 2021, you just need to do some playing and just get it down." Like we did some stuff. I did some stuff with Josh Smith and Gary Novak. They came over. We had a bunch of fun playing for a day, and then really fantastic guitar player called Ariel Posen. Did some stuff with him. I don't think even that's been released onto the YouTube channel yet, but we did some stuff with him as well. So did some stuff, but yeah, I just need to just play some stuff.
I hear you.
It's coming. It's coming. Hopefully you won't interview me in 5 years and you're like, dude, where's the trio or the quartet? It's coming. It's coming.
It's coming.
It's do you know what? Honestly, it's a time thing. I find it like brutally hard. It's just I work pretty long days and it just seems to I fill it up with just organizing bunches of stuff, for SBL and filming and stuff like that. So I just probably need to prioritize. That was probably the worst excuse. I just gave you the worst excuse.
Hey, but you're a dad. You got 2 kids, right?
I've got two
That-
kids. I've got
It's
2 kids, 5 and 7, both completely bonkers. Don't the worst sleepers. I've got the worst sleepers. Luckily, my wife takes it on the chin a bit with that. She's up in the night with them. But yeah, 2 kids, dog down here. Hey George, and and 25,000 hungry students.
it's a lot, man. It's a lot. Balancing and getting it out there is always kind of hard. So there is priorities. I think Zappa said, there's things that you have to prioritize, right? He said, I could go skydiving, but guitar was more important. So
Yeah,
so figuring out is the band at this moment more important than this is, or because that will always kind of come together. That's
yeah, yeah.
music is organic. It happens. So
Absolutely, yeah.
so when you're in that environment, it happens. But some things require a little bit more text to them, like
Steve, I'm
this.
going to do it. I'm going to do it. 2021, I'm telling you. If I
It's
don't, Aaron might. Aaron's a big dude who's on the team, the strategy guy. He might take me out. It'll be Aaron's bass lessons.
so we should be
That's not
expecting
do any
that this
play.
year, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Uh,
Awesome. Well, Scott, I want to thank you for your time. I know that you're busy, and I know it's the end of the day over where you are, but I really appreciate you cutting out this time for us and really kind of letting us know where you are and what's happening with the academy. And it's great to see, 5 years later that this has blown up in a huge way.
yeah, yeah. Well, man, it's been amazing. Like, just so honored to be asked to do it. To be honest, and let's not leave it 5 years next time. Let's like do it every year. We should do it once a year. We'll have a date.
We'll do a check-in.
Date
Yeah,
day.
absolutely, absolutely. But it's always a pleasure talking to you. I see great things in the horizon for you guys, and I'm excited to be a member of SBL and being able to
Yeah.
see it happen.
Thanks a lot, Steve. You're too kind. Cheers, man.
Cheers. Thank you so much. So, guys, I hope you had a chance Have a to good
Cheers.
one,
Cheers.
check this
Scott.
out and listen to the entire
Top stuff,
interview.
man.
It was really a great opportunity to interview Scott. Scott's an amazing player and an amazing teacher. And his crew, which has such A-list players that you can learn something amazing from, whether it's jazz, pop, rock, fusion, R&B, hip-hop. There's something there for all of us to kind of take and inspire us in our playing every day. My advice is check it out. Definitely check it out. There's something there for everyone. Thanks again for tuning in. This is Steve the Bass Guy with Bass Musician Magazine.